Hello, welcome back. This is the first panel that will be a part of this conference. We're going to do this the same tomorrow with different people on the stage. But today, our first panel is going to be about the fresh and limited source of the Western market, actually the Southeastern Europe. We have 5 experts on the stage. We've seen some fire in the previous presentations. I'm pretty sure that we will see a different kind of fire this time on stage, and we will have the good fire of ideas. They will. Among us, we have Mr. Dejan Jocic, founder of Foundcenter, Mr. Marko, president of Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Serbia, Mr. Miloš Došen, he's a co-founder of Seven and BGVF. We also have Ivana Gađanski, research assistant professor at Innovation Center at Faculty of Mechanical Engineering. Welcome. And Mr. Željko Vujnović, country general manager, Serbian Montenegro at Microsoft. Welcome all. So we'll focus on this panel on the role of Southeastern Europe and how to develop and wake up the sleeping economic giant of this region. And I would like to start with Mr. Došen. Your organization is committed to the development of startups. I would like to start with your personal experience. Can you share with us and help us identify the problem? When you come to them or when they come to you, what is identified as the main problem for a startup in this region?
Startups would say that sources of finances would be or are the greatest problem they encounter, but actually by our experience and in the last 4 or 5 years that we're dealing with bringing in investors from Europe, USA and other regions, actually we noticed that maybe investment readiness of the startup projects are actually is actually the problem that exists. So a lot of efforts in a sense of education, training, and improving business models, and generally working with them in that field of investment readiness is a must. You know, so our organization is actually committed to developing and designing projects that will influence exactly that will bring in a lot of young people into that startup arena, and actually the programs which will help startups really develop and become presentable and investment ready.
Mr. Cadez, we've heard that money is the main problem that startups come and say they need. Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Serbia also gets a lot of input from entrepreneurs. Is the money the word that you hear most often?
Yes, I can agree also with my colleague, and that's what we hear every day, because we really, as a Chamber of Commerce, not only in Belgrade but in Serbia, in 16 cities of Serbia, we have so-called small business centers where the people are coming and asking the questions, different questions, how to register a company, how they can get access, easier access to finances, and that are the questions which we can also support, but there are structural problems in that area that we have to solve, I think also as a society and also as an administration. And the most often we see great ideas, already pre-developed or developed products, already developed or pre-developed business models, with the problem to get on the second stage, to get really development and go into the development of the products and to go to the market and to find the finances for that. And I'm really happy that we have one initiative, as the Foundcenter was built to where we joined the forces of investors, different investors. We have also Belgrade Ventures Forum as one and as another stage, so that we can now bring private equity, private investors to the good ideas. We have a problem how to establish a system. There are some talks now also in the government. We are also talking with different ministries, and there also the government is now in recognizing we need to do something. We cannot function in the structures from 20th century in the world of business and ideas in the 21st century. So it doesn't match. We cannot really solve that. But there are many challenges how to facilitate this process, how to really which model to use to really de-risk also for the investors to be prepared to invest in startups, how to push up the stakes. There are some models in Israel or in Scandinavian countries which are successful, which cannot be copy-pasted, of course. But we have to sit and to discuss how to really to do it. So I saw today my good friend of mine who developed a great electro bike, Ono bikes, and his bike was announced as the most beautiful bike in the world 1 month ago from the BBC. And I know his problems. I know how difficult it was for him to also to find a good fund, to find a partner which can be, involved in the project, to get finances and to start really to develop idea. So there is a recognition from the, like BBC, from all producers of the world, from the ventures, and still there is a problem in the structure to make further development. So I know that he's now on the good way, Marko, and we together try to solve his problems, and that is what we do, that is what we have to do.
Mr. Jocic, is this one of the ways to solve all those problems? We've heard about the hurdles and obstacles, but at the same time, at the opening speech, you mentioned hurdles, but you mentioned optimism. How do you link those?
Yeah. Look, I think it sounds weird, but I think money is not the problem. Money is following a good idea. So, especially today, there's a lot of money in the market which should be invested, but in good ideas. And the difference in Southeastern Europe, and we should speak honestly what the main difference is, and the main difference is quality. So quality of presenting a business. And what is the interest of an investor? An interest of the investor that you show an investor how you're going to make money with it. So how you want to go into the market. So the investor is prepared to share the risk with you. And the investor is very open-minded to see exactly how big a risk is. But you have to show what exactly the business plan is and how the market is. And you have to be realistic on that. And that means that you take care about an investor. And actually, you as a startupper, you are also an investor. And you have to think about the real business behind it. And this is maybe a little bit the lack beside the fact that there's ask for money in these regions. And you can see today a little bit also on the presentations. We saw one thing which was very, very interesting today, and the product was very interesting. And when it comes to the question how exactly the business plan will look like, then it gets thinner and thinner and thinner. And I think this is something which can be improved. This is a part of education, but there's also a little bit of mentality in the Western countries where you already have a lot of these conferences, and actually it flipped into the other side. So the first chart is mostly we worth 100 billion and we're going to raise 100 million tonight. And actually there are so many investors you don't have any chance to get in. So that's the difference. And here you have, and that's maybe also very interesting, you have to focus on the product and to filter that out, to find good ideas and to support, let's say, a base into a business. This is also something which Foundcenter will support, and at any point we will not be the entrepreneur. So there must be somebody who's an entrepreneur, and I think we do not agree with a lot of activities, especially in the US, where you take over responsibility of the company, saying, "Oh, we're going to manage you, we're going to teach you how to be an entrepreneur." I think either you are or you are not. We can advise. But on the first step, people is the main thing, and that's something which is, it doesn't matter where you are. And to answer your question from the beginning, the countries in Southeastern Europe are small markets, and to bring smaller markets together to get comparable market like in Europe and Western Europe, that's the hard thing. And also, and it goes more in your direction, institutional questions, legal questions, makes the situation in Southeast Europe a little bit difficult. But that's also why we say, if the idea is good, why not attacking both markets, and especially a larger market, a healthier market, and yeah. I think I answered the question.
You brought up an interesting point. You said we're not here to teach you, but there's someone on stage who's in academia and who's dealing with teaching also in innovation. Ms. Gajanski, is the schooling system and our schools here ready to show what's needed for this process? Do we have the help from the schooling system, especially those specialized schools that you work for? Do they offer what young people need to know about entrepreneurship?
Yes and no. Just to first explain a little bit my position. So I'm a biologist who works at the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering, and I had a startup, an IT startup, so I think that also shows something which is missing in the schooling system is that multidisciplinarity. So I'm still getting comments like, how come a biologist wanted to start an IT startup? I mean, that's like very strange. And then when I started working at the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering, that's even more strange now to majority of people, including students, which is for me a little bit disappointing, because I would expect a little bit of more innovative spirit. And I think the reason why we don't see yet so much, at least not openly, is because I don't know, I think a little bit some fear, I think. And I think that's why it's very good we have now these international investment funds, because that gives more confidence to everybody. And to go back to the actual schooling system, I think it would help because many professors are also doing the research. And in the research here in Serbia, it hasn't been so far very effective, the process of technology transfer. So you see very few biotech startups, for example, which is a pity, because biotech is actually a very promising field, and it is high risk but also high gain. And it is more difficult to have a biotech startup, because you have such a longer phase until you get the product. But still, we have good research institutions, and there are good scientific results that have really high potential to be commercialized. But what Marko said, this institutional process is not yet there, that it's easy to go from the research to the technology transfer to the patents. This needs to be more efficient. And then when the researchers and professors themselves see the process is actually bringing results, I think they will be also more ready to showcase that to the students. And of course, it's like a positive feedback loop. Then students see the successful startups, they start thinking about it. And actually, they do think about it. I mean, what I said, that I was a little bit disappointed at first to see not much interest. For example, we had a project in Petnica. I know people from Serbia know Petnica, but it's the biggest informal education center in Southeast Europe. And we had there the project Fab Lab Petnica. It was about use of digital fabrication, 3D printing in education, and connection with entrepreneurship. And the kids loved the part about 3D printing and using CNC to make things, but the part about entrepreneurship, when we tried to show them how to pitch, how to organize themselves, for example, like a small startup group of students, they didn't really get it at first, because they thought it's far from science. Yes. So that part is missing, connecting science and business.
Thank you very much. I think, Mr. Vujinovic, your company is trying to do something about it and trying to connect business and science. So in terms of your research centers that we have here in Serbia, also the training center, what is a better thing for a company of that size? To have well-trained, educated people who work here, who are inspired to start their own ideas, or finish school and then leave and work abroad for some other company?
Definitely, definitely for us as a local company, it's good to have development center here, you know. But we are discussing about a lot of things, and first thing, I'm not coming from startup company, of course, but you know, I think that the main issue is not funds and investments, you know, and we need to put this in a structured way. And the main problem that I see is how to create opportunity for those startups to to present and to give them opportunity to present their solutions, and also to make connection between those startups, us as a big companies, international companies, and also some commercial sector. The main problem for us as a company, and for our development center is number of people that are coming from our university, because I think that we use to speak about our university, but I think that a level of education must be improved in Serbia, honestly. And I think this is good source, but what we are missing at the moment from our perspective is connection between university and real sector, commercial sector. Because if we make this connection, I think it will help also to boost startup community, because they will get opportunity, students will get opportunity to work on real projects for commercial sector, and it will boost startup community, because it is exactly example from Israel. So they are boosting startup community in the same way. So we need to improve on education side in order to get broader startup community in Serbia, and this is a big opportunity. As a second phase, we need to work in systematic way and really structure it with those startups, and to teach them how to lead companies, how to pitch their solutions, how to work, how to talk with investors. So this is the second phase. But let's not forget the first phase, and after that first phase we can discuss how to develop. This is big opportunity, and in Serbia this is not about Microsoft Development Center, because more or less this is not startup. Microsoft Development Center started as a startup, but this is not startup because we are part of big company. But in Serbia we have many successful cases like startups, especially in Novi Sad, and also in Belgrade, some companies. But from my perspective, the most important thing is to build this connection between commercial sector and university, and to create opportunity for those startups to present, and to give them opportunity to present solutions and to work really for. And I think especially in this region we have a lot of opportunities for startups, because level of our economy and overall IT is not expected.
Mr. Cadez, we've heard that there's a gap that should be bridged between education and the real sector. Chamber of Commerce did something and tried to do something with also involving in dual education and change the education system in Serbia. But it somehow seems like it's still in the first stage. Is it still the matter of politics in Serbia, or it has some other issues why it's going so slow?
So what I've learned in last 1.5 years, dealing a lot with the problem of first of all introducing dual educational system in high schools, but also hearing about the problems, also connecting the universities and the business community and companies. We have two ways. One way, where we work a lot, is to really transform the educational system, to be able to convince public administration that the educational system that we have now is really not useful for anybody who is want to be, or has no connection with the real life on one side. And that is what we are doing. We are trying now we are on the stage of writing a new legal framework which can enable dual vocational training in high schools. And that is one way. Other question is, we should, as a business community, is it the chamber, is it the business associations, the companies, sit together, and we are trying to develop educational models that have not to be connected to the state. It's not a matter if you have a state diploma on your side. It's a matter if you have the recognition, the certification of the companies, they need your skills. And that's the other track, and I think this track is much faster, and we have to work a lot on that. I think we can much easily achieve easier results and faster results than to change the whole system. Of course, we have to do it because it's a question of survival of generations. And that's the two tracks. Third aspect I would like to add on universities and research institutes in Serbia and the connection with, I will again say, real life, which is a business, and there is really a problem. Some institutes you see, like Mihailo Pupin or something, they developed very good, but they still have a problem working also in a structure as a state-owned company, and in few years they will not be able to survive because you cannot. You are moving in the framework which is the same for high-end research institute as Mihailo Pupin is working. A lot of in high technologies and some other states-owned enterprise which is in a traditional mode. So you cannot really keep the engineers, keep people working for you. That's one thing. The other thing, I have companies which are using research institutes and their applications from Poland, Czechoslovakia, Chechen, whatever, from Central and Western Europe, because they can easily find access to their solutions. If you go to some research institutes in Serbia, as a company, as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, you cannot really see what they're doing and how is it applicable to their businesses. And that's why we need also to work on really to go to research institute, help them if necessary. So we are now in discussion and dialogue with the institute in Vinča, which is really a huge and big and good institute with a lot of very good scientists, and try to contract with them to establish some kind of technical business park in Vinča, where we can then additionally to their researchers make the application and businesses there, because there is a space, there is this know-how, there is technology, but you cannot have a scientist managing the whole stuff. You have to combine this with business.
I think that was a good insight on the educational part. But we also heard that there are obstacles because the markets here are very small. The regional markets are not enough to exist on their own. Mr. Dejan, you focus on one of your mottos is regional approach. Is the regional approach working? Is the regional approach a solution for making more chances for startups?
I think it is, absolutely. So our event is actually a regional event. So we had up to now pitching companies from some 13 countries, investors from 30 countries. So it's a truly international event.
Do they work together? Do you have do you have opportunities when regional players try to do something together?
On a side of ecosystem, yes, there are a lot of proofs, a lot of activities of and such projects, but actually what a lot of investors said to us in previous years is that they are actually perceiving this region as a whole and a single market. You know, it has a lot of similarities in mindset, in various other types of connections which exist. For example, a lot of startups who are actually who kicked off here like before 4 years ago or something like that. They actually went to Bulgaria even to incorporate. They came back here as well. So a lot of traction is actually going on. Maybe underneath the radar of public policy stakeholders or governments.
Is that good or bad?
That's good. That's always good. I mean, when things are happening, it's always good. So a lot of things had happened since last 4 years. Incredible number of private initiatives took off, and now my opinion is that we have a set up for startup ecosystem in the whole region, including of course here in Serbia as well. What we need now is some maybe systematic support from government or other institutions or other people from private sector, corporations as well. That's really needed. I mean, everybody needs to do a good job. You know, state maybe needs to provide some incentives for investors. corporations need to include startuppers and innovative people to work more closer with them and to create partnerships. So a lot of things in that arena are happening, and I'm actually an optimist how this whole system is going in the whole region.
Mr. Jocic, with your experience from the Western world, is there a model that this region can learn from or copy some ideas? Is it actually good to have a role model in the West and then try to develop in the similar way, or there are some other examples that this region should follow more closely?
Wow, that's a big question, because the answer is that you have to start from historical, political, economical questions, and this could take a while. But I think that the main actually headline we're using today and saying is Eastern or South Europe like the new source for Western markets. I think there are people and entrepreneurs here and ideas which are not discovered, and the reason why is because they had these hurdles in their own countries, and to change this, like politically, economically systems, that's a long that's a long story. But for the people today and to now, and the people are pitching here, they want to have now and today their lives, and maybe the chance we're giving right now to saying, okay, we're opening up also the Western markets, is something which will on a long term also change the countries here. I think that this is the way I would see it, and I would not focus it on Serbia, on Croatia, on whatever. These are very, very similar, let's say, similar hurdles people are confronting. And if we take away the borders and see all the ideas which are pitched today, it's clear that these ideas don't have borders. And so we'd like to give them the right base. And I think this is something we should focus on. And yes, there is a big source in these countries, and which is not discovered. It has to be packaged differently. You can see by the presentations here how packaging looks like if it comes from another country or from this country, so I think there are undiscovered secrets, and yeah, I think we should support it.
Thank you. Mr. Vujinovic, you are on the top of one of the leading companies in IT sector here in Serbia, and we've heard a lot of undiscovered secrets. How do you discover those secrets? Because I guess it's something that you want to do. You want to discover those secrets first so that the others don't get there before you. So how do you undiscover those secrets in this region that you're covering?
So it's an easy question, first thing that we need as a company, and we are driving business, which means that we are trying to position Microsoft solutions on the market. So how to discover those secrets is actually to understand our customers and to understand and to recognize opportunities on the market, and then to follow up on this. So I think it's true that we need to discover those secrets. So, and it will help also to run business, but not only for Microsoft, but also for startups companies. It's not easy. It's not easy. The main showstopper for us in this process is actually we are missing skills on the market. From IT perspective, it's not about country, it's not about region. I think that with new trends and technologies in IT, I'm talking from IT perspective, there is no country, there is no region, this is worldwide. So if you have good solution, this is opportunity for you to work not only in this country, but also in many other countries. But the first step, as I said before, is to get opportunity and to make your solution real, and to have some proof that it's working and that there is value for customers. So this is a lot of parallel tracks, I would say so. But the main showstopper for this process is we need to improve our skills. So, and this is the reason why, from my perspective, it's important to improve skills on universities, and the only possible way how to do this is to give those students opportunity to work with real life, because at the end of the day, everything will end with customers, with business, and we need to improve this.
Ms. Gajanski, we've heard about many undiscovered secrets. You discovered one of yours. You have your own startup, and you're also supporting female entrepreneurship, ladies entrepreneurship in Serbia. That's one of the secrets that we will also discover here during those 3 days, because we have a lot of ladies who pitched their ideas. Is that one of the undiscovered secrets and undiscovered powers of a regional economy? Is there a potential that's still hidden that can be developed and that can be a new force in this region, not only in Serbia?
Yes, I like that not only in Serbia, and what everybody said, it's definitely not the unique set of problems that we have here, but I would also say that it's not only regional. If we go again to look at the science, so my other secret is that I'm part of the group Young Scientists at the World Economic Forum. So twice we had these different meetings where the idea was to find the mechanism how to connect science and industry. I don't know if only industry is real life, because science is also dealing with real life, but the key question is how to connect the two. And that's definitely not only a problem here. And when you talk about female entrepreneurship, well, I think this panel doesn't really do it justice. So there are more female entrepreneurs, very successful. But there should be more, and that's again not unique to Serbia, unfortunately. I mean, globally it's less female entrepreneurs, but it's rising. And I think that's again, if you look at science, in Serbia there are more, at least in life sciences, there is higher percentage of female researchers. So if we get life science industry going, and I think one of the ways exactly this, making life science tech parks, because so far we don't have any, and that would immediately bring all these female researchers directly into the industry. So I think these different potentials are actually very, it's very good to merge them, and they're complementing each other. So the whole system is then on the rise. But again, not only in Serbia. So it's definitely good to connect regionally and globally.
Thank you. On the closing note, Mr. Dejan, you deal a lot with online. Is that the future that the region should use as a stepping stone towards the West?
Definitely. I suppose you think of our educational programs, which are generally online based, and that's because we believe that we really need to have a huge outreach. Actually, one of the secrets, if we are talking about the secrets, or it's just let's say my opinion, if we have like I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5,000 people who are engaged in the startup community today in Serbia, actually, by my opinion, the question is how to get that number to 50,000. So it's like 10 times bigger number. So a lot of things need to be done there, and online is a great tool to achieve it, especially in education. But also, like in sense of some trends, like I don't know, in fintech, or simply we are living in a very interesting times. I believe that like in the next 5 to 10 years we'll have a huge disruption in financial sector, for example, banks. So actually there's a lot of other trends other than playing online education that actually needs to be under the focus, and I'm sure they are for investors, but also for startup community. That's something encouraging, because definitely, like innovation nowadays, innovation really can come from wherever, you know. So of course there are places of great concentration of innovation, such as like Silicon Valley and stuff, but it's not important. It's not that important to be there. So actually, nowadays you have technologies which allow you to reach out to investors, to reach out to startups, depending on your angle and of your interest. Actually, technology is out there to act and be really global and to push your innovation really globally if you are a startup, or to find talent or in some further distant regions such as ours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for a final note. Mr. Vinovic, on the final note, your work for the influential company, do you feel that there's a system where you can be a part of some broader coalition, let's say, that can influence the growth of this small market?
I think it is the only way. So we need to make partnership with also some other companies and to work together. And it's better for us to be partner than to be, competition on the market. So because there are a lot of opportunities for everyone. Yeah.
Mr. Cadez, do you feel that everybody here is working in the same way, or trying to move things in the same direction?
I think yes. I think it's all stakeholders recognize what is the meaning of the changed world. It's not about if we want that or we don't want that. It's like climate changes. It's there, so we can. The new economy is there, so we cannot avoid it. The question is how we can cope with it and deal with it, so that also our economies and the regional economies and I think the global economy really provide for the people the best opportunities to start ideas, to develop ideas, to make a business cases. It's also I always try to not to use this segmentation and to speak about startup scene, because it's always some kind of there are some people there and some weirdies and nerds, and they're doing something, because it's not about that. It's about how we digitalize the whole economy, how we digitalize the standard economy, because the standard economy will never ever exist as that existed. So how we digitalize the business models, how we have a new concept of products, how we sell our products. So and I'm very also very happy that we found also in Microsoft a good partner as a Chamber of Commerce and working on let me not say everything but announce on a new product which is very oriented how to digitalize small and medium-sized enterprises, how to catch them and how to bring them to think a little bit different in order really to survive, because it's not only a question of technological solution, it's the question how I use this technological solution for a basement for my bakery, for my pharmacy shop, for my institute, for my whatever. So, and that is one thing. The other thing I think what we haven't understood, and this is the thing that the whole Europe and the old continent is facing with. And we had a panel discussion with Commissioner Hahn not so long ago in the Chamber of Commerce, and we discussed and we pointed out this issue that Europe is still not doing well with failure in business. So how should we, change our minds? And it's not only a problem in Serbia, or it's the same problem in Germany, it's the same problem in France, it's the same problem in Italy. How we deal with starting a business, starting good ideas, failing, starting again, having a new chance, and so on. It's a crucial question. It looks very simple, but it isn't.
Thank you for that one, Mr. Jocic, and your final word. We've heard that there should be a coalition of players that move the things in the right direction. How does this conference become an important brick in this wall? What is this conference making different in the world of startups in the region?
Okay. First of all, the conference is in one way different to every other conference because it's not a conference in a classical way. So it's not a conference bringing investors and startups together and let's see what happens. This is an event done by investors and investors meeting directly the new entrepreneurs, and it's a first step where we're diving very deep into this region, and we expect to get a great feedback in the next 3 days. And we saw today already a few things which are actually underlining the fact that there are big potentials in these regions, and they have just to be picked, they have just to be, taken carefully and packaged the right way and prepared for bigger markets. And yeah, so that's the last word.
Thank you all very much for your time today, and thank you for your ideas that you shared with us. So we conclude this first panel. After the short break, my colleague Lana Boric will be back with more presentations of great ideas from the Southeastern Europe.